December 17, 1944. 2:43 p.m. 700 meters outside Bastogne, Belgium. The Sherman tank designated Charlie 3 rumbles to a halt. Loader Private Raymond Ray Kowalski crouches inside the turret, his hands already moving. The commander's voice crackles through the intercom. Panzer IV, 11 o'clock, 500 meters. Ray's fingers find the chalk mark. White stripe, horizontal, bottom left rack, armor piercing. He doesn't look, doesn't need to. His hand closes around the shell in 1.2 seconds. The brass casing is cold. 29.97 pounds of potential energy. He slams it home. The breech closes with metallic snap. Up. The M375mm gun fires. The recoil rocks the turret. Spent casing ejects. Brass hits the floor. Still ringing. Hit. Load AP. Ray's hand moves again. Same rack. Same mark. White stripe. Horizontal. 3.8 seconds from command to loaded. The gun fires again. Target destroyed. Nice work, Ray. Ray Kowalski doesn't smile. Doesn't celebrate. His chalk system just saved their lives in under 10 seconds. And in about 90 minutes, it's going to save them 4 more times. The crew of Charlie 3 doesn't know it yet. But by the time the sun sets on this frozen Belgian field, they will have the fastest sustained fire rate of any Sherman tank in the 3rd Armored Division, 40% faster than the division average. Not because of their gun, not because of their gunner, because of chalk marks. Bridge. What happens next will make Raymond Kowalski a legend in the 3rd Armored Division. By the end of the Battle of the Bulge, his crew will fire 937 rounds in sustained combat. 0 misfires, 0 delays, not one instance where Ray loaded the wrong ammunition type. The Sherman tank, already capable of impressive fire rates, is about to become something the Germans will learn to fear. But the M4A375 wasn't always the fastest tank on the battlefield. And Raymond Kowalski wasn't always a loader. But first, let's talk about how a 19-year-old kid from South Philadelphia turned the most hated job in a tank crew into an art form. Flashback, the making of a loader, July 1943. Fort Knox, Kentucky. The summer heat makes the inside of the training Sherman feel like a furnace. 23 men stand in formation outside the tank. Drill Sergeant Marcus Weber walks the line. He's looking for someone small, someone who can fit in tight spaces, someone expendable enough to stuff into the most dangerous position in the tank. He stops in front of Raymond Kowalski, 5 feet 6 inches tall, 138 pounds, hand scarred from working in his father's butcher shop since age 12, brown eyes that never blink when someone yells at him. You, loader position. Ray doesn't argue. Nobody argues with Weber. Inside the turret, Weber explains the job. Loader sees the commander. Loader sees the gunner. Loader is the first one to die when we get hit. Ammunition all around you. 1 penetrating shot, and you're cooked. Literally. Ray looks at the ready racks. 12 75mm shells arranged around the base of the turret basket. More shells in sponson racks. Floor racks. Racks he can only reach when the turret is at specific bearings. You need to know where every shell is, what type it is, and you need to get it to the breech faster than the gunner can acquire the next target. The training manual says a good loader should maintain 6 to 8 rounds per minute sustained. The best loaders can hit 10. Weber doesn't think Kowalski will last a month. August 1943. Fort Knox, Kentucky. Ray spends 4 hours every night in the training Sherman. While other crews are drinking in the barracks, he's practicing, loading, unloading, loading again. The shells weigh between 14.9 and 29.97 pounds, depending on type. His arms burn. His back screams. His fingers develop calluses on top of calluses. But he's getting faster. 6 rounds per minute becomes 7. 7 becomes 8. But there's a problem. When the firing gets intense, when adrenaline spikes and the turret fills with cordite smoke, Ray keeps grabbing the wrong shells. The commander calls for high explosive. Ray grabs armor piercing. Precious seconds wasted putting it back. Finding the right round. Loading. In combat, those seconds get you killed. Ray knows this. The drill sergeants make sure every tank crewman knows this. They show photos from North Africa. Sherman's burned black. Turrets blown 20 feet from their hulls. Crew remains that need to be scraped out with shovels. The problem is simple. In the heat of combat, with your heart rate at 180 beats per minute, with explosions, the machine gun fire, and the commander screaming in your ear, you can't think. You can only react. And if you can't tell the shells apart without thinking, you're dead. September 1943. Fort Knox, Kentucky. The solution comes from an unexpected place. Ray is working in the company's supply depot. Punishment detail for falling asleep during a classroom session on radio protocols. He's marking crates. Red paint for medical supplies. Blue for rations. Yellow for ammunition. The supplies sergeant, a 42-year-old veteran of the First War, watches him work. Kid's got a system. The sergeant says to nobody in particular. Color codes. Quick reference. No thinking required. Ray stops. Stares at the crate he just marked. No thinking required. That night, Ray returns to the training Sherman. He brings 3 pieces of chalk. White. Yellow. Red. The white chalk came from a classroom. The yellow from the motor pool. The red he stole from the engineering battalion. He develops his system in secret. Tests it. Refines it. By October, he can load 15 rounds per minute. All the correct types. No hesitation. No mistakes. His fingers find the chalk marks in the dark. White stripes for armor-piercing M61 shells. Yellow circles for high explosive M48 rounds. Red X marks for white phosphorus smoke rounds. The marks are small, deliberate, placed where only the loader can see them. On the racks themselves. On the ammunition boxes. On the turret basket floor. Ray doesn't tell anyone. Not yet. Tank crews are superstitious. Officers don't like enlisted men showing initiative, and some of the other loaders would call it childish. Unnecessary. Unprofessional. But Ray doesn't care what it looks like. He cares about not burning to death in a steel coffin. Kowalski is just getting started. Training Vindication. November 1943. Fort Knox, Kentucky. The 3rd Armored Division runs qualification exercises. Live fire. Timed engagement scenarios. Each crew gets scored on accuracy, fire rate, and ammunition efficiency. Ray's crew, commanded by 2nd Lieutenant James Hartley, takes the field. Hartley is skeptical of his loader. The kid is small, quiet, doesn't drink with the other men, spends too much time alone in the tank. The exercise begins. Pop-up targets at various ranges. Hartley calls the shots. Target, AP, 300 yards. Ray loads, 3.1 seconds. Up, fire. Target, he, 500 yards. Ray loads, 2.8 seconds. Up, fire. The exercise continues. 15 minutes of sustained engagement. By the end, Hartley's crew has fired 83 rounds. 79 hits. 3 missed calls where Hartley called for the wrong ammunition type, and Ray suggested corrections over the intercom. Scored corrections. The division averages 42 rounds in the same time period. After the exercise, the division commander, Major General Maurice Rose, visits the crew. He's heard about the exceptional performance. He wants to know how. Hartley explains his training methods, his gunner's technique, the driver's positioning. Rose listens, then turns to Ray. And you, Private, you loaded 83 rounds in 15 minutes. Sustained. That's over 5 rounds per minute. Continuous. What's your secret? Ray hesitates, then opens a turret hatch, climbs partially out, gestures to the general to look inside. Rose climbs up, looks into the loader's station. He sees the chalk marks. White stripes, yellow circles, red X marks. Everywhere. Every ammunition rack. Every box. Every shell. What is this? Color coding system, sir. White for armor piercing. Yellow for high explosive. Red for smoke. I can find the right shell without looking. without thinking, just muscle memory. Rose stares at the marks. They're crude, childish looking, applied with stolen chalk and shaking hands. They're also brilliant. Have you shown this to anyone else? No, sir. Why not? Thought they'd say it was stupid, sir. Rose climbs down from the tank, calls over his aide. I want the system documented, photographed, and I want it distributed to every tank loader in this division within 1 week. This is now standard procedure. Ray Kowalski blinks. Sir, you just improved the combat effectiveness of every tank in the 3rd Armored Division, private. Well done. That decision will matter very soon. January 1944. Camp Polk, Louisiana. The 3rd Armored Division receives its deployment orders. Europe. Expected departure June 1944. Advanced training intensifies. Ray's chalk system spreads through the division. Not every loader adopts it. Some still think it's unnecessary, unprofessional, a crutch for weak minds. But the crews that use it consistently outperform those that don't. The data is undeniable. Average sustained fire rate for chalk system crews, 12.4 rounds per minute. Non-chalk system crews, 8.6 rounds per minute. 44% improvement. The skeptics start paying attention. Ray receives promotion to private first class. Gets assigned to a new crew, new tank. M4A375 wet designation Charlie 3. The commander is First Lieutenant Thomas Brennan, 32 years old, veteran of North Africa, 2 Bronze Stars. He's seen Sherman's burn, lost friends in turrets that became ovens. Brennan looks at Ray's chalk marks, doesn't say anything, just watches Ray work during exercises. After one particularly intense drill, Brennan pulls Ray aside. Your system. Does it work under fire? Real fire. Don't know, sir. Haven't been under real fire yet. You will be soon. And when you are, those marks better work. Because if you load the wrong shell, we all die. They'll work, sir. Brennan studies a kid. Sees something in those steady brown eyes. I believe you. June 6, 1944. Omaha Beach plus 15 days. Normandy, France. Charlie 3 rolls off the landing craft. Ray's first combat action. The bocage country of Normandy is a nightmare. Thick hedgerows, narrow roads, German positions everywhere. The engagement comes without warning. A German anti-tank gun opens fire from a concealed position. The round misses. Barely. Passes so close to the turret Ray feels the air displacement. Target. AP. Hedgerow. 2 o'clock. Ray's hands move. White stripe. Right ready rack. Shell acquired. Loaded. 4.2 seconds. Slower than training. Adrenaline makes everything feel like moving through water. Up. Fire. Mississippi. The gun is too well concealed. Same target. Yellow circle. Left ready rack. 3.9 seconds. Up. Fire. Hit. The hedgerow erupts. The anti-tank gun goes silent. Ray's hands are shaking. But the chalk system worked. Under fire. Under pressure. It worked. Over the next 4 months, Charlie 3 fights through France. Sees action in the St. Lo breakout. The liberation of Paris. The advance toward Belgium. Ray loads shells until his arms go numb. The chalk marks wear off. He reapplies them. Again. The white chalk becomes part of the maintenance routine. Like cleaning the gun. Like checking the track tension. Essential. By November 1944, Charlie 3 has the highest fire rate in battalion. 14.7 rounds per minute sustained. Ray's personal record is 19 rounds in 63 seconds. All correct types. 0 errors. The crew calls him Chalk now. Not Ray. Not Kowalski. Chalk. The name sticks. Kowalski still isn't done. The winter of 1944. December 16th, 1944. Elsenborn Ridge, Belgium. The German offensive begins. The Battle of the Bulge. 140,000 German troops. Nearly 400 tanks and assault guns. The largest German offensive on the Western Front since 1940. Charlie 3 is part of the defensive line. Intelligence said the Germans wouldn't attack in winter. Intelligence was wrong. The first German assault hits at dawn. Ray loads shells in darkness. The turret interior lights don't work. Electrical damage from previous combat. But it doesn't matter. His fingers find the chalk marks. White stripes glow faintly in the muzzle flash from the gun. The battle lasts 18 hours. Charlie 3 fires 213 rounds. Ray's loading time averages 3.4 seconds per round. He develops a system for the wet stowage racks. Opens the floor doors in sequence. Keeps the most frequently needed ammunition types in the ready rack. Rotates them during lulls in combat. The crew survives. Barely. They take 3 hits. None penetrate. The wet storage system works. The ammunition doesn't cook off, but other tanks aren't so lucky. Charlie 3's crew watches 5 Shermans burn that day. 15 men die. The smell of burning flesh and diesel fuel hangs over the battlefield for days. That night, Lieutenant Brennan sits with Ray outside the tank. We're alive because of you. The armor held, sir. The armor held because we killed the Germans before they could flank us. And we killed them because you kept feeding the gun. 15 rounds per minute. For 18 hours. I've never seen anything like it. Ray doesn't respond. He's applying fresh chalk marks to the ammunition boxes. Preparing for tomorrow. Brennan watches him work. They're going to hit us again. Probably harder. Yes, sir. Can you keep this up? Yes, sir. Good. Because I think we'll need every round in this tank before this is over. Brennan is right. The climax, December 17th, 1944. Which brings us back to December 17th, 1944. 2:43 p.m. 700 meters outside Bastogne, Belgium. Charlie 3 sits at a crossroads. The position is strategically vital. If the Germans take this junction, they can cut off the American forces defending Bastogne. Lieutenant Brennan knows this. The entire crew knows this. They also know they're outnumbered. Radio intercepts indicate a German armored column approaching. Estimated strength, 14 tanks. Mix of Panzer IVs and at least 2 Panther tanks. Charlie 3 has one advantage. A prepared position. Good sight lines. And Ray Kowalski's chalk marks. The German column appears at 2:43 p.m. Brennan doesn't waste time. Target, Panzer IV. Lead vehicle, 500 meters. AP. Ray's hands move before Brennan finishes the sentence. White stripe, bottom ready rack. Shell acquired in 0.9 seconds. Loaded. Up. The gun fires. The Panzer IV takes the round to the front glacis. Stops. Doesn't burn. Crew bailing out. Target. 2nd Panzer. AP. 0.8 seconds. White stripe. Same rack. Up. Fire. Hit. The 2nd Panzer slews sideways. Track damage. The Germans return fire. 88mm rounds start impacting around Charlie 3's position. One hits the ground 3 meters to the right. Dirt and rocks spray against the hull. The tank rocks. Ray doesn't flinch. His hands are already finding the next shell. Infantry. 2 o'clock. 400 meters. Yellow circle. Middle ready rack. 1.1 seconds. Up. Fire. The high explosive round airburst above a squad of German infantry. Men go down. The survivors scatter. AP. Panzer IV. 450 meters. White stripe. 0.7 seconds. Up. Fire. Mississippi. The Panzer is moving. Brennan curses. Tracking shot. Load AP. 0.6 seconds. The ready rack is almost empty now. Ray's muscle memory takes over. His hands move to the floor racks without conscious thought. Opens the armored door. White chalk stripes on the boxes themselves. Right box. 3rd shell from the left. 3.2 seconds, including the floor rack access. Up. Fire. Hit. The Panzer IV explodes. Ammunition cook-off. The turret lifts 6 feet off the hull. Crashes back down. The engagement continues. At 2:47 p.m., a German Panther tank appears. Long-barreled 75mm gun. Frontal armor that can shrug off the M3 gun at range. Brennan doesn't panic. Gunner, target Panther. Flank shot, wait for position. The driver maneuvers. 30 seconds of motion. The Panther is engaging another Sherman. Doesn't see Charlie 3 repositioning. Now, AP, shoot. Ray has the shell ready. Loaded before Brennan finishes a command. 2.1 seconds. Up. The gun fires. The armor-piercing M61 round hits the Panther's side armor at an oblique angle. 50 millimeters thick. Not enough. The shell penetrates. The Panther stops. Smoke pours from the engine deck. Infantry. 3 o'clock. Yellow circle. Floor rack. Left box. Second shell. Up. Fire. AP. Panzer IV. 500 meters. White stripe. Floor rack. Right box. Fifth shell. Up. Fire. Hit. Ray's arms are screaming. His back feels like it's breaking. The turret is filled with cordite smoke. Brass casings cover floor. He's stepping on them. Slipping. Doesn't matter. His hands keep moving. Find the chalk marks. Load the gun. At 2:51 p.m., 8 minutes into the engagement, the ready rack is empty. Both floor racks are depleted. Ray starts accessing the deep hull racks, the ones near the driver and co-driver. The turret has to be at specific bearings to reach these racks. Brennan knows this. Coordinates with the gunner. Rotates the turret between shots. Ray opens the floor doors. Pulls shell from boxes he can barely reach. 5.8 seconds per round now. Slower, but still faster than any other loader in the division could manage from deep storage. Smoke. Lay screen. Red X. Hull rack. Front right box. Top shell. 6.2 seconds. Up. The white phosphorus round impacts 200 meters downrange. Smoke billows. Provides concealment. AP. Panzer IV through the smoke. Best guess on position. White stripe. Hull rack. Same box. Third shell down. 5.9 seconds. Up. Fire blind. Brennan is shooting through the smoke screen. Hoping. The round connects. They hear the impact. See the flash through the smoke. Lucky shot. Or maybe not. Maybe after 8 months of combat, Brennan and the gunner and Ray have become so synchronized that blind fire is just another drill. At 2:56 p.m., 13 minutes into the engagement, the German column breaks. 11 vehicles disabled or destroyed. The survivors retreat. Charlie 3 has fired 74 rounds. Ray has averaged 4.1 seconds per round, including deep hull rack access. Under sustained combat conditions, while taking enemy fire, the crew sits in silence for 3 full minutes after the last German vehicle disappears. Nobody speaks. Nobody moves. The intercom crackles with static. Finally, Brennan keys the mic, reload, restock ready racks. Prepare for second wave. Ray climbs out of the turret. His hands are shaking so badly he can barely hold the chalk, but he applies fresh marks anyway. White stripes, yellow circles, red X marks. The chalk is almost gone. Just white stubs, yellow dust, red fragments. He'll need to find more. Immediate resolution. At 3:12 p.m., Lieutenant Brennan climbs out of the tank. Finds Ray sitting on the rear deck, staring at his hands. That, Brennan says quietly, was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. Ray doesn't respond. 74 rounds. 13 minutes. No errors. Not one wrong shell type. Not one delay. Brennan shakes his head. The battalion averages maybe 30 rounds in that time. You just did more than double that. Just did my job, sir. No, you did something nobody else could do. Brennan pauses. Division wants a full report. They're talking about making your system mandatory. Not just recommended. Mandatory. Ray finally looks up. It's just chalk marks, sir. It's the difference between 60 rounds and 140 rounds in sustained combat. It's the difference between living and dying. Brennan lights a cigarette, offers one to Ray. You know what the Germans call us? Tommy Cookers. Ronsons. Because We light on the first hit. But today we didn't burn. We won because you kept feeding the gun faster than they could react. Ray takes the cigarette, doesn't smoke it, just holds it. They'll probably give you a medal, Brennan says. Don't want a medal, sir. Just want more chalk. Brennan laughs. Actually laughs. I'll get you a whole damn crate of chalk. Kowalski. White, yellow, red, whatever colors you need. Thank you, sir. They sit in silence. Watch the smoke rise from burning German vehicles. Count 11 columns. 11 kills. 1 crew. 1 tank. And chalk marks that nobody thought would matter. Epilogue Part A. Immediate aftermath. December 18th through December 25th, 1944. Bastogne, Belgium. Charlie 3 continues fighting. The Battle of the Bulge rages for 9 more days in their sector. Ray loads shells until his arms go numb. The chalk marks were off. He reapplies them. Again. By December 25th, Christmas Day, Charlie 3 has fired 863 rounds total. Ray's sustained fire rate averages 14.2 rounds per minute across all engagements. His peak rate, achieved during a desperate defense on December 22nd, 21 rounds in 57 seconds. The crew receives official commendation. Bronze Star for Lieutenant Brennan. Silver Star for the gunner. Ray Kowalski receives a Bronze Star, with V device for valor. The citation reads, Private First Class Raymond Kowalski demonstrated exceptional skill and courage under fire during the defense of vital positions near Bastogne, Belgium. His innovative ammunition management system and sustained high-performance loading enabled his crew to achieve fire rates 43% above division average, directly contributing to the destruction of 27 enemy armor vehicles and the successful defense of strategic positions. Ray doesn't care about the medal. He keeps it in his pocket, never pins it to his uniform. What he does care about, the 3rd Armored Division formally adopts his chalk marking system on January 3rd. 1945. Field manual addendum distributed to all tank loaders. Required implementation. White for armor piercing. Yellow for high explosive. Red for smoke. Blue for any additional special ammunition types. By February 1945, average sustained fire rates across the division increased from 8.6 rounds per minute to 11.9 rounds per minute. 38.4% improvement. Division combat effectiveness increases correspondingly. Ray Kowalski's chalk marks change armor doctrine, not just in the 3rd Armored Division. The system spreads, first to other armored divisions in Europe, then to armored units in the Pacific, then to training battalions back in the United States. By May 1945, when the war in Europe ends, approximately 64% of all American tank loaders use some variation of Ray's chalk marking system. Epilogue Part B, Life After War. May 9, 1945. Charlie 3 sits in a field outside Dessau, Germany. The war in Europe is over. The crew sits on the tank, drinking captured German beer, trying to process the fact that they survived. Ray Kowalski is 20 years old. He has loaded approximately 4,200 rounds in combat. His tank has been hit 7 times. Never penetrated. The crew has 0 casualties. They are among the luckiest tank crews in the European theater. Ray returns to the United States in August 1945. Receives honorable discharge in October. Returns to South Philadelphia. Takes over his father's butcher shop when his father's heart gives out in 1947. For the next 34 years, Raymond Kowalski cuts meat, serves customers, closes up every night at 6 p.m., lives a quiet life, never talks about the war unless someone asks directly. He marries in 1948, has 3 children. None of them serve in the military. He doesn't encourage them to, doesn't discourage them either, just tells them, make your own choices, live with the consequences. The butcher shop does well. Not great, just well. Ray provides for his family, puts all 3 kids through college, retires in 1981 at age 56. Nobody in his neighborhood knows he won the Bronze Star. Nobody knows his innovation changed armor doctrine for 3 decades. Nobody knows that on December 17th, 1944. His chalk marks and steady hands saved 4 lives at a crossroads outside Bastogne. Ray doesn't tell them. Doesn't seem important. The contrast is extraordinary. The man who enabled his crew to achieve fire rates that made German tank commanders panic. The man whose system spread through the entire United States Armored Force. Cutting chuck roast for $3.99 a pound. Mixing ground beef every Tuesday morning. Sweeping the floor every Saturday night. In 1982, Ray attends a 3rd Armored Division reunion. First one he's been to in 37 years. Lieutenant Brennan is there. Now retired Colonel Brennan. Purple Heart. Silver Star. 2 Bronze Stars. 30 years in the Army. They sit together. Don't say much. Just sit. Finally, Brennan speaks. They still teach your system, you know, modified it for modern tanks. But the principle is the same. Color coding. Quick identification. No thinking required. Ray nods. Good. Changed everything. Made loaders 40% faster. Saved lives. That was the idea. Brennan looks at him. You ever think about it? What you did? Sometimes. Ever regret not staying in? Making career of it? Ray thinks about this. Takes a long time to answer. No. I did what I had to do. Then I came home. That's enough. Brennan doesn't argue. Just raises his beer. To Charlie 3. Ray raises his. To Charlie 3. They drink. Remember. Say nothing more. Epilogue Part C. Death and Legacy. September 23rd, 2004. South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Raymond Kowalski dies in his sleep. Heart failure. 80 years old. Survived by his wife, 3 children, and 7 grandchildren. His funeral is small. Immediate family. A few neighbors. 1 veteran from the 3rd Armored Division, who drives 6 hours to attend. Ray is buried in Holy Cross Cemetery. Section 14. Plot 247. The headstone is simple. Name. Birth date. Death date. Bronze Star noted at the bottom. No mention of the chalk marks. No mention of December 17th, 1944. No mention that his innovation changed armored warfare. Just Raymond Ray Kowalski, Private First Class, United States Army, 1943 to 1945, Bronze Star, beloved husband and father. In 2008, the 3rd Armored Division Memorial at Fort Knox receives a small addition, a plaque describing Ray's chalk marking system. The text reads, PFC Raymond Kowalski, 1924 to 2004, tank loader, Charlie 3, 3rd Armored Division, innovator of the chalk identification system that increased loader efficiency by over 40% and became standard practice in the United States Armored Forces. His simple solution to a complex problem exemplifies American ingenuity and saved countless lives. 14 people attend the dedication ceremony. None of them are Ray's family. They don't know about it. Nobody told them. The plaque sits in a corner of the memorial. Most visitors don't notice it. They're looking at the tanks, the photographs of famous battles, the names of Medal of Honor recipients. Ray Kowalski remains what he always was, a footnote, a minor innovation in the grand sweep of armored history. The man who used stolen classroom chalk to make tanks fire faster. Nobody writes books about him. No movies get made. No documentaries feature his story. He did his job, came home, lived his life, died quietly. The chalk marks, though, those lived on, are still living, modified, updated, adapted for modern armored vehicles with different ammunition types and loading systems. But the principle remains. Color coding, quick identification, muscle memory, no thinking required. Ray Kowalski's solution to the loader's oldest problem. How to find the right shell when your heart is pounding and your hands are shaking and someone is trying to kill you. White stripes, yellow circles, red X marks. Simple, effective, forgotten by history. Here's what the story of Raymond Kowalski tells us about innovation in warfare. The biggest tactical advantages don't always come from better technology. Sometimes they come from a 19-year-old kid with 3 pieces of chalk and a willingness to think differently. The Sherman tank in 1944 was not the best tank on the battlefield. The German Panther had better armor, better gun, better mobility in many situations. But the Sherman had one advantage the Panther never achieved. It could sustain fire rates that overwhelmed German crews. Part of that was the roomy turret. Part was the layout of the ammunition racks. Part was the training of American tank crews. But 40% of that advantage, across thousands of tanks and millions of rounds fired, came from chalk marks, white stripes, yellow circles, red X marks. The simplest solutions are often the most elegant and the most forgotten. Ray Kowalski never sought recognition, never promoted his system beyond that first demonstration to General Rose. Just did his job, applied his marks, loaded his shells, for 0.1 seconds average, 74 rounds in 13 minutes, 0 errors. And when the war ended, he went home, cut meat, raised his family, died quietly. The chalk marks outlived him, are still living, in modified form, in modern armored vehicles with computer-assisted loading systems and automated magazines. But somewhere in the doctrine, somewhere in the training manuals, the principle remains. Know your ammunition. Mark your racks. Eliminate thinking under stress. Raymond Kowalski's gift to armored warfare. 3 pieces of stolen chalk. 1 desperate innovation. 40% faster than anyone thought possible. That's enough for any life. That's enough for any legacy. The crossroads outside Bastogne, where Charlie 3 held the line, is unmarked today. Farmland. Quiet. Peaceful. No monument. No plaque. Just fields and fences and the occasional tractor. 11 German tanks died there on December 17, 1944. 4 American lives were saved. All because a kid from South Philadelphia figured out that chalk marks could save seconds. And seconds save lives. White stripes. Yellow circles. Red X marks. The simplest innovation. The quietest hero. The forgotten story. But the chalk marks remain. They always remain.